This week's clip is from a coaching call a few weeks ago with an expert who is looking to build a business and was struggling with the concept of imposter syndrome. Here's the clip.
I understand. I believe what you're describing is called imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard of that before? Okay, no worries. I can explain. Imposter syndrome is what it sounds like. It's where you're an expert, but you feel like you're an imposter. You feel like the success you've had has just been, luck. You feel like, all of the achievements you've made really aren't that significant. When in contrast to a lot of other people that are, outside looking in, they'll go, wow, look at all the achievements you've made and everything like that. Imposter syndrome is one of those really interesting things because a select group of people feel it, and generally, if you're feeling imposter syndrome or you're concerned about it, or you're dwelling on that, you're you're in the category where you're an expert. Because if you're not an expert, and if you're just overly confident in your abilities, if you're overly confident in what you tend not to question that. You tend not to contrast it. You tend not to find examples of achievements that justify the heights that you soar to, right? So imposter syndrome is really this inner dialogue that has you questioning if you are taking the right path of an expert. Now, I know there's many different definitions out there. There's many different ways of looking at it. That's my way of looking at it. I believe that imposter syndrome is really a way to kind of self-regulate and have your inner narrative kind of guide you to continue down the path of being an expert by questioning, hey, you know what, like, am I taking the right decisions? Am I focusing in the right area? Now, imposter syndrome can be something that can be paralyzing if you focus on it. So this is the same with we've talked about mindset before. This really comes down to that. If you allow yourself to just dwell on oh, you know what, well, how am I achieving this? Like I can't say yes to being a speaker at this conference. Like I've never spoken at a conference this big. Like what do I have to offer? When in reality, if you look at what you've accomplished, you look at the success of your business, you look at what customers say about working with you, there's a very real justification for you to speak at this conference or attend that event or do whatever that inner dialogue is detracting you from. Does that make sense? That's a good question. I think dealing with imposter syndrome is something you really you just have to organically learn how to do it over time, right? Everyone kind of comes up with their own way to approach it. Everyone comes up with their own strategy to deal with it. But the essentials are, the worst way to do it is don't get defensive. Don't try and attack it from a defensive perspective of, I'm great and all of this other stuff. Look at it and try and understand why and where that doubt is coming from, right? So if you're sitting there and you're going, hey, you know what, I just got an email from someone offering to have me speak at this conference. I'm really not a big shot. Why would I speak at this conference? Sit back, take a deep breath, and take a moment and just reflect and objectively try and look at your achievements. Objectively try and look at what you've accomplished. And in doing that, what you'll start to see is that imposter syndrome is really a way of almost self-regulating and keeping yourself in check, as I said earlier, right? So the best way to deal with imposter syndrome is to almost turn into it, is to embrace it. Because it's one of those things of, if you weren't feeling imposter syndrome, there'd be a very real possibility that you could just take down the path of being, overly self-assured, overly confident, maybe spreading information that you're not knowledgeable about. Whereas if you're, wise to imposter syndrome, it'll give you the opportunity of saying, okay, you know what? I believe that I don't have the credentials to do this. Let me actually look at my credentials objectively. And when you do that, you'll realize that imposter syndrome is really there as a byproduct of not having the mindset of, being in alignment with the heights that you're starting to soar through, right? While at the same time, you having an inner desire to focus on building a career or building a business or building notoriety around something of substance, something, something that's for certain, right? So imposter syndrome, I mean, there's a lot of other articles I think out there that are, from people that are much well educated than I am, that, have really spent a lot of time in that space. If it's something you're really struggling with, I'd suggest, look into those. But very high level, if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, it's usually an indication that you're going down the right path. You're trying to, build something of substance and question how you do it. The key thing is don't let it take over. As soon as it starts to take over, it can start to become paralyzing, right? So kind of what we talked before about mindset is really make sure you're focusing and understanding the destination you're going to get to. When you find those thoughts that are questioning, spend a moment or two, not more, just assessing and, okay, is this a real question? Is this something I should really be concerned about? Do I have the credentials to speak here? Yes, I do. I've accomplished this. I've helped these businesses do this. Once you do that, move on. Don't sit there and dwell, because as soon as you sit there and dwell, that'll become your entire reality, and you'll start to find that more instances arise where this imposter syndrome comes to service. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. It's really a way of guiding you to become a better version of yourself, right? Like it's that self-regulation check kicking in and going, hey, what, am I actually ready for this achievement? Am I actually ready for these accolades? Am I actually, ready to be told, I'm so great and everything like that? The key thing, remember, life is hard enough as it is. There's a lot of people out there that are really focused on the negative side. They're really focused on telling you why you can't do things. So the key thing is when you encounter situations like this, assess it objectively, but don't dwell on it. Even if you find, going through you're attending a conference, you look at it and you go, hey, you know what, maybe I don't quite have the credentials yet. Can you spend a few hours of doing some research? Can you spend a few hours of going through some of your past projects and, maybe brushing up certain areas that you're not well versed at? That'll, eliminate that imposter syndrome, most likely.
I hope you found that clip useful. Let me know in the comments below how you deal with imposter syndrome and if you've ever experienced it before. As always, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for new videos which come out every Wednesday. If you're a first-time business owner, founder, or expert that's looking to build a business and struggling to know where to start or what challenge to tackle next, in the description below, you'll find a link for a complimentary one-on-one strategy session. Look forward to speaking with you.